I learned how to play Mahjong. A friend of mine from the game store, same friend that I went to Cali Burst with, he's really into Mahjong, and like we make fun of him for it. And he asked me if he was going to like a Mahjong beginner's day at like a local Mahjong league. And my place was on the way, and he asked me if I wanted to come, and I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like fun. So I briefly skimmed a bit of an instructional video, and then I asked him a bunch of questions in the car on the way over, and we got there, and I played with a couple other beginners, and learned how to play Mahjong for like 6 hours. So you might know Mahjong as that game that's in a bunch of Japanese games that a lot of old Asian people play. I think of like old Chinese and Japanese men like sitting around a table gambling on Mahjong. And it's represented in a lot of I think Final Fantasy XIV has a Mahjong minigame. Yeah, so this is Riichi Mahjong. There are multiple different variations. Chinese Mahjong is, as I understand it, more casual. I don't know all the rule set distinctions, but that's kind of how it was explained to me. Most times when you go to play Mahjong, unless it's like explicitly, I think they call it Mandarin Chinese Mahjong. Most times that you go to play it, you're probably going to find Riichi Mahjong because it's more competitive. Mahjong rules. Mahjong is really fun. So the basic, unfortunately, it's also like not a game that I can say is like, actually, it's really simple. It is kind of complex, and it took me a while to pick up on a lot of the basics. So I'll try to explain it. So Mahjong is a 4-player game that's played with tiles. The tiles are very similar to cards. In fact, they even have suits. There are 3 different numbered suits, 1 through 9. And then there are a couple of what are called honors. Honors are kind of like suits, except they are like special symbols. There's like 3 different dragons of 3 different colors. And then there are the 4 winds, northeast, southwest. There are, with each of these different categories, every suit has 4 copies of each tile. It's not called this, I don't know what it's called. It's not like a deck that you draw from. You set up multiple different walls of two row tall columns, and then you go one by one drawing tiles. So basically, from that wall, picking it apart in order. So you start out with a hand of tiles, of 13 tiles. The goal of Mahjong is twofold. There are 2 conditions you have to meet. Number 1 is that you need a full, valid hand. I'm not sure if there's a specific term for it, but you need a full, valid hand. A full, valid hand is 14 tiles total, consisting of 4 triplets and a double. A triplet can be a sequence of 1, 2, 3. It can be 3, 4, 5. It could be 4. It could be 3, 4, 5, 6. Just like 3 numbers in a row, not wrapping around. So you can't do like 9, 1, 2. It does not wrap around. 9 and 1 are like the hard edges. It can be that. It can be 3 of a kind. And then you have like all 3s and all in the same suit. They all have to be of the same suit. And then a double is just 2 of a kind. So 4 triplets and a double for a total of 14 tiles. You start out with 13 tiles, and essentially what you're doing is that when it comes around to you, you draw a tile and then discard a tile. You draw a discard, until you have basically worked your hand into a position where you have a full or almost a full hand. At which point you are in tenpai. Tenpai is kind of like check, where you're 1 tile away from winning. The second condition is a little harder to describe, but that is that you must win while having a yaku. A yaku is basically a condition that you fulfilled. You can have multiple yaku. It's kind of like a little trick that you have that you do with your hand. It's so hard to explain. It's certain patterns and stuff. And what is the actual official explanation of what a yaku is? I know what it is. The problem is that it can come in many forms. It's a victory condition. It's a winning condition. You cannot win until you have a win condition. You actually have to build a win condition. Yeah, that's probably the best example of that. The best explanation of that. So, for instance, a very common yaku would be, what do they call it? All normals or something? All simple, something like that. It's the idea, and that kind of a hand would be every tile in your hand. When you complete your hand, every tile is the numeric suits. You don't have any of the special honors in your hand. And if you have that and you get your final tile, you call different things based off of like how exactly you're winning. But you can basically declare your victory. If you draw it yourself, you can say tsumo, and that means that you top decked it yourself. There are also ways that you can basically steal pieces from the opponent. Doing so without opening your hand is called ron. When they discard something. There are also ways that open your hand. So pon and chi are two different methods. They're two different callouts that you can make. They're like little special moves you can use. A chi is when the opponent directly to your left, which would be the player who goes before you, discards a tile that you could use to complete a triplet. Before you draw your own tile, you can call chi, and then you can present to prove that you can complete the triplet, and take the tile from their discard pile, or their cut pile, as it's called, and then take the 3 that you got and then push them off to the side and basically reserve them. Those are locked in place. You can't touch those tiles anymore. Pon is a similar idea, except you take it from... What's the difference? Hang on. Chi is to complete a sequence. A pon is to complete a triplet. Okay, that's what it is, right? So the chi is specifically if you could complete a sequence of like three sequential numbered tiles. A pon is for like a 3 of a kind. And a pon can be called from anyone on the table. So why wouldn't you just do that every single opportunity you get? Because doing so and taking those tiles and moving them off to the side does what's called opening your hand up. And certain yaku become impossible to get once you have opened your hand up. The rules dictate that they require a closed hand. One of the most common yaku is Richi, the name of the game. So what Richi is that basically if you have a closed hand and you are 1 tile away from winning, you are in tenpai, as it's called, your checkmate state, you can call Richi. So you would do your draw, basically do the draw and discard that would put you into tenpai, and then you get to call Richi, and you bet 1,000 points. I should mention that Mahjong is played over the course of multiple rounds, so you will play through multiple different hands, resetting after someone wins or you go through the entire pile. So you call Richi, you bet 1,000 points, you put that up, and then that is essentially saying I am locking down my hand. And from this point, you're basically in top deck mode. You cannot discard anything from your hand. It's locked in place. So you can draw a tile. If it's not what's called your weight, the weight is the tile that you need to win, the tile or tiles that you need to win. You can have multiple, depending on the patterns in your hand. If it's not one of your weights, you just discard it immediately. You can self-draw it, but you're not just in top deck mode. That's not your only means to victory. If anyone discards one of your weights, weight is in like you're waiting on it. If anyone discards one of your weights, you can call Roan and take it and complete your hand and win the round. That means that once someone calls Ricci, there is a brand new risk-reward game to be played, because you have to decide, potentially, any discard you make, any cut, could win your opponent the game. And here's the thing. I mentioned that it's played over multiple rounds. You start with a certain amount of points, I think 25,000, and then you put up different amounts of points. Actually, Ricci, I believe, is the only one where you actually bet points. When you win, depending on the hand that you won with and how many Yaku you got, you can get multiple Yaku in one hand. And once you win, you basically count them up, and there's a whole like system for it. I don't understand it. It's kind of complicated. My friend is also not an expert at it. Online simulators make it easy, but they basically stack multiplicatively. So you can get like a lot. If you get like 3 or 4 Yaku, you can get like big points. Well, where do you get your points from? It depends. So if you win by self-draw, Itsumo, as it's called, a sumo, everyone at the table pays out to you. It's split among the rest of the table, with the player designated as dealer paying more. The dealer always goes first. If you win by Roan, by fucking calling someone's discard out and they won you the game, that player is the only one to pay you out. So you do not want to get Roan, dude. You do not. When your opponent calls Ricci, you don't want to get Roan. You don't want to be that guy. Because that feels bad. That shit feels like, oh, especially if they have a big hand. They pulled off some kind of crazy combo in their hand. So there's a whole defensive dimension to the game where you can hit a point where you're like, okay, I'm not necessarily, I don't know if I can win. I don't have an amazing hand for winning right now, but I can try not to lose. There's winning, there's losing, and there's in between. And as long as you can make sure that you are not the one to get roaned, you can at least protect your points. And kind of hold out. There's a lot of different strategies you can do. You can go for really early aggressive hands that don't take the time to build up a lot of Yaku. Some people just try, for instance, if you get the dealer spot, you might want to hold on to that for as long as possible. When you win, you stay the dealer. So you might want it otherwise it rotates. If you want to hold on to the dealer position, which means that would you get paid more if you? I don't remember. You can go for like really fast, quick strategies that can win you early, but don't necessarily count for a lot of points. There are more long con strategies. A lot will be determined by your first hand, your opening hand. Like, how many honors did you get? So, for instance, another kind of Yaku is as if you have 3 of the dragons. If you get a triple of dragons. So there's red, green, and white dragons. Let's say I open with 2 white dragons in my opening hand. I can go, ooh, I'm going to hold on to that. Because if anyone discards, the honors people tend to discard those very quickly. Because there's a limited amount of them. There's only four white dragons. There's only 4 green dragons. There's only 4 red dragons. There's only 4 of each type of wind. So often you'll be in a situation where you might have 2 of the winds or one of the winds, and then 2 of them get discarded by other players, and you're like, well, I can't do anything with this now. This one, they're literally like, there's only one more wind of like the south wind, for instance, that I've got. There's only one more left. Someone could have it. It could be left in the deck. It wouldn't matter. A 3 dragons or a 3 winds. Sorry, specifically. Oh my God, this is a fucking complex ass thing. So there are round winds and like seat winds. The round wind is either east or south, as I understand it, which is essentially like the set. So you play very commonly, like how many sets you play to. Commonly, I think the standard is 2 sets, which is 4 hands. So the first set will be on the east wind, and the second will be on the south. You also have a round wind. The dealer is always east, and then you can have like a compass that shows. So the one opposite the dealer is going to be west, and then to their sides is going to be north and south. So if you're south, if you are, so the south, so the round wind or your specific like wind that you've got, your seat wind, I think they call it, getting 3 of those is also a Yaku. If I'm south wind and we're on the east round, if I have the north wind, that doesn't count for a Yaku. I could still get like a triplet of them, but it wouldn't count for a Yaku. If I get the south wind in my hand, if I open with 2 south winds and I am the south wind in my seat, I can hold out until someone discards a south wind tile and then pawn it and steal it off, because that particular Yaku does not require you to have a closed hand. So you're like, oh, I can hold on to this, and then the rest of my hand, I can just work it into a position and not be so aggressive and going for cheese and pawns and stuff like that. Or you could just like aggressively chi and pawn for stuff just over and over again. Although that is very dicey because it makes your hand less flexible. Essentially, the more you open your hand up and the more tile sets you push off to the side by these kind of like stealing call-out methods, the more you are committing to the hand that you have left. So you could get yourself into a technically unwinnable position because, you have like a 3 and like a 2 and a 3 of the pins, which are like the circle suit. You have 2 pin and 3 pin in your hand. You can win, and you need a 3 of. You already have a merge. You have a 2 of a kind, and you have 3 triplets off on the side. Or merges is what they're called when it's 3 specifically. You've got 1 match already done. Don't have to worry about that. And 3 merges. And so you need 1 more merge. And you can only win if you get a 1 pin or a 4 pin, because that would complete 1, 2, 3 or 2, 3, 4. You could also conceivably pick up another, if you happen to draw a duplicate of 2 or 3, you could replace the other one, or you could replace, the opposite one, and you could try to go for a 3 of a kind. But it's like, actually that would limit you. That'd probably be worse because you can win off of 2 different tiles if you're waiting on a triplet or a sequence, sorry. But if you're waiting on a 3 of a kind, that's only 1 tile that can win you the game. So you've basically worked yourself into a kind of difficult position. You have to be very confident if you want to like open your whole hand up. You have to be really confident. So yeah, I mean, I played for like 6 hours. I played a lot of fucking Mahjong. And at the start, I was very slow and I took a lot of time to think about my hand. Regular Mahjong plays much faster. You get maybe like 5 seconds. You're kind of expected to have made your decision within 5 seconds and then move on. Because it was beginner casual day, they were slow. They were really nice. There were a couple guys there who were very helpful and really good at teaching. And they helped me out a lot. They gave me a lot of advice for strategy and stuff like that. And apparently I did pretty well for it being my first day of ever playing and having learned the game on the car ride over. So I have to admit it's bad. I've installed Mahjong Soul on my phone. Mahjong Soul is an online client for Mahjong that is made by Yostar, which was crazy to me. When we were going over to... Yostar is the makers of Azurlane. When we were going over, I was like, is it generally like an older... I kind of associate Mahjong with like old people. And we get there and it's like, it's mostly just like nerds. It's a bunch of young nerd guys and a couple ladies. And I was like, okay, well, it's a surprisingly young crowd from what I guess the stereotype in my mind would suggest. And then I look at Mahjong Soul and I'm like, oh, this is how they get all the Asians. This is how they get all the Asians, is they get like big titty anime girls to play Mahjong. There are male characters. There's male characters in Mahjong Soul. There's an entire male cast, but you never see them on loading screen art. You never see them in promotional stuff. It's all just like cute girls playing Mahjong. Some of them with a lot of cleave going on. It's like, this is how you get the Asian gacha addict. Because there's gacha for like cosmetics. It's crazy. It was very weird as someone who played Azurlane for several years. It was very weird to load up that game and discover that not only was it Yostar, but it is also like the same artists and character designers and UI style. Obviously, the menus are different because they have, the games have different needs, but like so many things were evoking Azurlane memories of like back in high school for me. It was crazy. It was very humorous. So I've mainly just been playing against AI so that I can get more comfortable with it. Honestly, I'm just kind of having a blast playing against AI. I might graduate up to like playing against real people online. They have ranked, of course. Because Mahjong is really fun. It is a really fun game of risk versus reward on multiple different levels, where it kind of evolves over the course of the game. At first, you're trying to like figure out. There's kind of a fundamental skill of what hands, how you can get a hand into a more favorable position, what calls you should and shouldn't use, and when. And then there's like a different risk reward that is very like mental, and like you're checking what everyone's discarded, because the discard piles are public, and you're checking what people have discarded to see like, okay, I don't see any of bamboos. Sozan is what they're called, the bamboo suit. I don't see any Sozan in their discard pile. They're probably I don't see anything in the cut piles. Someone's probably hoarding a lot of them, or everybody's got a lot of them. So it might be dangerous for me to go in on because I might not have as much that I can take from. But it also could be dangerous if someone calls Ricci, because I might just be giving up. If I cut any so's at this point. I could be giving up the winning tile and getting really screwed over. It's a really fun game. I would genuinely recommend going and learning Mahjong. It is fairly complicated. There's a lot to keep track of. But once I got into the swing of things, it felt really good to just sit at a table, and you can play the whole game silently, save for callouts. It felt really good to just sit at a table and just like draw, cut, draw, cut, draw, cut, and pay attention to my hand and think and strategize and kind of push it. I got to call Ricci a few times. I won like 1 or 2 rounds, and I felt pretty good about it. Yeah. Thumbs up. I'm recommending the game of Mahjong, the ancient game of Mahjong.